training that I undertook, I think gives me an excellent baseline as an aviator to be able to understand the systems and understand how they are being utilized on the flight deck and how the airplane performs.
Well, now let's go to Jacques Astre in New York. He's the president of the consultancy firm International Aviation Safety Solutions. He's also a former pilot and worked as an inspector at the Federal Aviation Administration. Welcome to the program, Jacques. Now, Boeing unusually has had a run of good news over the last few days. First, we saw European regulators basically say that the 737 MAX jet is now safe to fly, and now American Airlines says it wants to fly the 737 MAX in December. Do you believe that jet is ready to return to the skies?
Well, first of all, good evening, and yes, I do. I would say, knowing the industry the way it is, that airplane will probably be the safest airplane to fly in once it resumes service.
Okay, but it is interesting, though, that the boss of the EU Aviation Safety Agency has come out and said that it's preparing to recertify the 737 MAX jet by the end of the year, because one of the demands that it made was that it amended or updated the software surrounding this so-called synthetic sensor. But we now know that that still hasn't been implemented by Boeing and won't actually be implemented for another couple of years. How much of a concern is that?
Well, first of all, what we're talking about is doing additional verifications on the certification of the airplane that can actually go above and beyond the safety requirements that make the airplane safe currently, which is a good thing. Backups are always excellent to have on an airplane for safety reasons, obviously. But obviously, it's not a concern for the European Aviation Safety Agency that it would delay the recertification of the aircraft and allow it to fly. If it had any reservations, trust me, neither the FAA or EASA would certify the airplane for return to service. So I would say that it's an amenity that's nice to have, but not required for the airplane to safely return to passenger service.
What about the US aviation regulator, the FAA? We know Boeing had previously come under fire because it had a cozy relationship with regulators. As someone who's worked with the FAA, did you find that as well, that the FAA was perhaps pandering to Boeing in some respects in the past?
You know, the issue, and unfortunately, the media gave the appearance that there was a cozy relationship. Now, I can tell you that a lot of tasks in aviation are delegated from the FAA to individuals. Okay, not just in manufacturing, but in pilot licensing, in maintenance functions as well. So when they designated Boeing people to do certain things, the issue became the conflict of interest, which is these are people who were delegated responsibilities who actually worked for the company. And many people found that an obvious conflict of interest, which is quite frankly true. But it was not necessarily a cozy relationship where nefarious things were happening. It was merely a matter of the conflict of interest was obvious. And I really don't believe that people who were given those delegated responsibilities would intentionally go out and do something that would kill nearly 500 people. No one, I mean, that I know of in the business would even consider doing something like that. So, while the appearance of the program between FAA and Boeing uh, did have an obvious conflict of interest and obviously needed some fixes that you know probably contributed to the accident. I think what we should really understand is that in both accidents there were other contributing factors like crew actions, training, um, actually dealing with the emergency at the time. All of those also played factors, as well as maintenance that was done on some of the parts that were on the accident aircraft as well. So it wasn't just one little relationship between Boeing and FAA that created that situation. It was many, many issues that came together and unfortunately resulted in two accidents.
Okay, well, let's say the European Union's aviation safety regulator does approve the aircraft to return to the skies. Let's say the FAA does and other regulators around the world. I guess the true test will be whether or not the flying public will actually buy tickets on the 737 MAX jet. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. Do you believe the public will trust this modified 737 MAX? Would you fly on the plane?
Well, you are absolutely correct. The real test is going to be public acceptance of the airplane when it returns to service. I would say that Boeing had better made sure that that airplane is the safest airplane in the sky, because if there's even one incident that comes close to what already happened, public acceptance may be compromised and Boeing may have a problem. So I would think that after what it has cost Boeing in terms of its reputation, in terms of what it cost in money and payouts for lawsuits for the families, I would think that Boeing has done their due diligence to make sure that nothing happens and that public acceptance is regained. Um, because, like I said, if they have even one incident, it could cost Boeing dearly, and they know that.
It sure could. Okay, well, let's see what the regulators do over the coming weeks and months. Jacques Astre in New York, thank you again for joining us.